Hi guys, Bomber here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be talking about balance changes. If you don't know already, there is a balance change update into the work, which will hopefully come pretty soon into the game, and I leave down below in the description a link to the Reddit post. So, the way we'll be proceeding to analyze the balance of the cards are two aspects of the cards, which are the design and the power level. So for the design, we'll be looking at the thought, which is behind the card. So if it is flavorful, or if what the card does actually represents what the card does in the game and in reality. Instead, for the power level, we'll be looking at if the card actually has a good win rate and if it is too high or too low. So if it is too low, we need to empower it so that it actually becomes meta, or at least it could be used. Instead, if it is too powerful, if it has a too high win rate, we should tone it down to not be as meta as it is. And we'll start with each faction, and I'll be analyzing the best cards and the worst cards for each faction, starting off with Vespitole. So, the first card that we'll be starting off is one of the Vespitole best cards, which is Corruption. And so the problem with this card is not the design, as I think it's a very well thought card, but the problem is in the power level. And the main problem why this card is so powerful is because it's a self-win condition. It actually can work by itself. So you see that the main focus of this card is to convert the skulls into gold. But in itself, it has the ability to generate skulls. And so you could just buy all corruptions and you would win the game. Instead, if it didn't have the +1 power in itself, you needed at least one card which generates skulls and then synergize it with corruption. So this card, the problem is that it synergizes with itself. So the change I propose is to remove the +1 skulls in the corruption. And if it's still not enough, then we could also increase, I don't know, the gold cost by 1. And usually I don't like to just change the numbers on a card, but that's it, because at that point we can change the card without altering the design aspect of the card. And so just increasing its cost should be enough to tone it down the win rate with also the other change I proposed. So, the second card we'll be looking at for the best cards for Vespitole is the Inquisitor. And the Inquisitor has a very high win rate, and so just to tone it down, one of the proposed change could be to just increase its cost by 1. And that's for sure would be enough to tone it down the win rate, as it is even more expensive than it is right now. Instead, another change we could make to the card is to change a bit of the design of the card. So actually make it cheaper by 2 gold, but remove 1 earth from it. And so you may say, but Bomber, you just removed the 1 earth, so you just change the numbers of the earth there are on the card. So you just change the numbers. And it's not like that, because actually the change from 2 earths to 1 is very huge, because the main problem with Inquisitor is that if you have an interceptor in the way, which retaliates, since Inquisitor has 2 HP, you can feed it, and so it will heal and take the retaliate from the retaliator, and so it doesn't die because it heals itself before attacking. And so you can always OTK an opponent even if it has a retaliate on the board. And if you change it to be 1 earth, then you can't go past a retaliator, because if you attack, it doesn't heal, and so it dies from the retaliator. And so that's a very huge change, because you actually can't OTK an opponent if it has a retaliator. And so the OTK aspect of the card is very toned down, and so it will be also the win rate, hopefully. So, for the worst card of Vespitole, the card is Soldier. And the problem with this card is that it's too weak. And also we can't change too much of the card without changing too much the design of the card. And also we should take a look at 3 other cards, which are Militia, Mercenary and Knight. And as you can see, those cards are pretty linked to themselves. as Militia is 1 health, intercepts, Mercenary is 2 health, intercepts, Soldier is 3 health, intercepts, and Knight is 4 health, intercept. And so we can change that aspect of those cards, because they are pretty linked together. And so soldier, we can change the 3 health, we can change the intercepts, and we can change the on-play draw a card, as it is a Vespitole team, and we can change only for this card. So the one thing we could change is the cost, but as I said, I don't like too much to just change the numbers on a card, and so what I would change is a bit of the design aspect, and so we can change the retaliate of the soldier, and not leaving it as a 75% chance to retaliate, but just make it as a lesser knight. And so 100% retaliate as the knight, and so that will definitely increase the win rate of this card, and so it will not be too weak as it is right now. And also, if this change happens, I would like also to review the militia and the mercenary. So for, as I can say, for consistency, I would like the militia to not intercept at all, and also the mercenary. So we could look at it like this: the militia and the mercenary are the lesser soldiers, the lesser grade, and instead the knight and the soldier are the higher grades. And so it is coherent that the higher grades also retaliate, and they retaliate 100%, not some RNG stuff, and instead the militia and the mercenary do not, because they are lower grades. And if then the militia and the mercenary actually become weaker and they would lose too much of win rate, then we can adjust those cards in the later stages. But for now, if we need to change the soldier, I would go for these changes for consistency, and if not, I will just change the soldier with the change I suggested. So the second faction we'll be looking at is Daramek. And we'll start off with the best card of Daramek. And believe it or not, the card is Orphan Gang. So with this card there is not too much of a problem in it. I don't see it being too powerful, but it actually is. And so if we need to turn it down a bit, as it has a win rate of actually 55% or so, we can just tweak it a bit to turn it down. And so one thing I could do to change this card is also one of a design aspect, because think about it, an Orphan Gang does not think of who he needs to attack. It just attacks at all, and so this translates into they don't attack the weakest, as they should think of who is the weakest. And so instead, an angry mob of Orphan Gangs who are angry and hungry would attack at random, and so I will change the attack weakest into attack only. And this is a change for design purpose, but also actually translates into a weaker power, and so that should also turn it down the win rate, and so that's two birds with one stone. So for the worst card of Daramek, the card is Sheppard. And the problem with this card is that it's just too weak for what it does. But as a design aspect, viewing it by the design aspect only, it's a very flavorful card. Think about it, a Shepherd is more powerful if it has a lot of heirs from which he can gain a bunch of resources from them. And so the card is very flavorful, as it does what actually is in reality. But also we can change the card, and actually that will be a rework, and hopefully that will solve also the power level problem and make it more powerful by changing the design also. And think about it, a Shepherd also can recall to him the herd which are lost. And so that we can translate that thing into a game mechanic, which is remove on turn for each herd gain +1 resources, and instead on turn draw an herd from deck. And so that would represent the fact that a Shepherd can recall to him the lost herds, and also reduce the cost of the card, so that will also solve the power level problem. And so that's the change I will go for this card. And thanks to JNFS, because he is the one who proposed this change, and I really like it, and so I showcased it into the video.